Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. This is going to be the first in a series of battle reports that I'll be uploading to the channel. You know, over the last few months, I've really missed getting some wargaming in, and with the pandemic raging, that hasn't been possible, and I really don't foresee myself getting any games in the near future. So I thought it would be a perfect time to dabble in some solo play. And as I was going through the rule sets in my library, one really stuck out to me, and that is the game Dux Britanniarum. It is a Dark Age skirmish game set in post-Roman Britain, and it's great for solo play because a lot of the combat and campaign elements are randomized, which makes it really hard for you to favor one side or another. And so the two factions that are in this skirmish game are the Anglo-Saxons and, of course, the post-Roman Britons. So for this video, what I'm going to do is show you how you start a campaign of Dux Britanniarum. And the first thing we're going to have to do is to generate our warlords and our nobles for both the Britons and the Anglo-Saxons. And what I really like about this rule set is you have a really cool character generation. It's kind of like a D&D-esque role-playing character sheet for each of these people. And it gives each of the characters different traits and abilities on the battlefield, and it's really great for creating a narrative for your battles. So I'm just going to show you how we create the warlords for the Britons and the Anglo-Saxons. I'm not going to go through and show you how we generate all the minor nobles and things like that. It'd take forever. But the first thing we need to do is give a name to each of our warlords for our forces. And for the Britons, I'm going with a nice post-Roman, late Roman feel to my force. And so my warlord is going to be named Marcus Aurelianus Gallus. Nice little nod to my favorite Emperor Aurelian. And so once we have his name down, we need to roll to see how old he is. So I'm going to be rolling 2 d6s and then consulting the chart. Alright, so we rolled a 5 and a 6 for our warlord. So he is going to be 36 years old. So we got Marcus Aurelianus, the 36-year-old warlord for the Britons. And so now we need to figure out the age and the name of our Saxon warlord. And so I've decided on the name Leonhard for the warlord's name. And now we need to roll for his age. So we rolled a 4 and a 4, so he is going to be 29 years old. So now that we have the name and the age of our warlords, we need to figure out their physique. So we're going to roll 2d6 and figure out what they look like. And I'm going to start off with Aurelian. Alright, so it looks like I rolled a 7. So Aurelian will be of average build. And now we need to do the same for our man Leonhard. Alright, so for Leonhard we rolled a 9, which means he is going to be tall and strong. So we have Aurelian of average build, and we have Leonhard that is tall and strong. So now we need to roll for the reputation of both of our warlords to see what they're known as before the campaign begins. So we'll start off by rolling 2d6 for our man Aurelian. Alright, so we rolled a 1 and a 2 for Aurelian, so he is going to be known as the Conqueror. Pretty nice title to start off with. So now we'll roll the same for Leonhard. Alright, for Leonhard we rolled a 4 and a 1, so he is known as the Avenger. Man, we got some pretty good titles. Usually I get like Drunkard or Cabbage as their title. Alright. So now we need to roll to find out their personality traits. So again, we're going to roll 2d6 and consult this table here. So we'll start off again with Aurelian. Alright, so we rolled a 3 for Aurelian. So he's going to be known as the Horseman. So he'll be able to fight mounted and get some bonuses. So that's pretty good. And now we need to roll for Leonhard. Alright, Leonhard, he rolled a 5. So he is going to be known as a Master of Arms. Alright, so we have a Horseman and a Master of Arms. Now we need to figure out the background of both of our warlords. So we'll actually start here with Leonhard to figure out where he comes from. Alright, so for Leonhard we rolled an 8. So he is Wodenborn, the son of an aristocrat. Alright. And now we will do the same for Aurelian. We'll roll 2d6. His background's going to be a little bit different, of course. Alright, so for Aurelian, we rolled a 7. So he's an exile. Alright, so he's kind of a wandering, I guess, warlord here. But that does start us off in a kind of a hard spot here. We get -2 on our first wealth roll, so yikes. So now we need to figure out the starting wealth of our warlord. So we'll start with Aurelian, roll 1d6 and consult the table. Alright, so for Aurelian we rolled a 5, but we have to subtract 2, which is a little unfortunate, because that would have been nice. We would have got a Tribune's Tribute, but instead we get a Thief's Hoard. Alright, and now we need to roll to figure out the wealth of our Saxon warlord. He rolls a 4, and so he'll have a Thief's Hoard too, so at least we'll be on equal footing for our wealth. So now we need to roll to figure out the age of the kings that our warlords will be serving. So we'll start off with Aurelian. We'll roll 2d6 and consult the chart. 1 and a 2. Alright, so for Aurelian, his king is going to be 52 years old. And now we need to roll to figure out the age of the Saxon king. 3 and a 2. So he is going to be 56 years old. Okay, and with that, we have finished the creation of our 2 warlords, and we now know a bit about them. We know Aurelian is a 36-year-old exile horseman who's of average build, and our man Leonhard is tall and strong. He's 27. He's the son of an aristocrat, and he is a master of arms. All right, so next thing we need to do is figure out where we are going to fight in Britain. So after much debate, I decided we'd be fighting our campaign in the Old North. And I did this primarily so that I could bring in the expansion to the rule set known as Raiders. And this expansion brings in the Picts, the Scots, and the Irish. And what will happen is every year I'll roll the dice, and randomly a Irish warband will appear and attempt to raid the British provinces. And I have a nice warband from Footsore that I thought would be nice to bring in there, and I just thought it would kind of shake things up in the campaign and would be fun. And so the kingdom we're going to choose in the Old North is the kingdom of Reged, which is this kingdom here. Now, I'm going to be tweaking a few things that it suggests for the campaign in the rulebook. First off, in the rulebook, these provinces are actually 2 separate kingdoms, North and South Reged. But I wanted this to be kind of a more expansive campaign. It says in the rulebook that campaigns involving smaller kingdoms usually don't last quite as long, and I want this to be a nice epic campaign. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine most of North and South Reged. I'm going to leave out these top provinces beyond Hadrian's Wall up there. I'm not too interested in those. I'm going to pretend that the Picts or the Scots have taken those, and instead I'm going to start this campaign in the year 590. And I'm going to have the king be a guy named Owain, who became prominent in a lot of the Arthurian legends. I'm going to say that he actually conquered or united the throne of Reged, and he is going to be waging war against the Bernicians. And I really like the background between this, and the history is a little muddled, but one of the origin stories of the kingdom of Bernicia is that there were a bunch of Laiti or Foederati, basically German mercenaries that were serving on Hadrian's Wall since the time of the Roman Empire. And after the Rome falls, they serve the British Kingdom in the north, and eventually they will rebel and they will overthrow the British overlords and take control of this area and then start invading south. And so I really liked that kind of storyline. And so these guys up here in the north are mostly Angles. The Angles were the ones that took Northumbria and East Anglia and things like that. So I'll be most likely referring to my Anglo-Saxon warband as Angles from now on. But anyway, that's the start of our campaign here. We're going to have the Kingdom of Reged trying to retake this kind of rebel Anglian kingdom here of Bernicia along Hadrian's Wall. So the last thing I'm going to do for this video is give you a brief overview of the forces for both the post-Roman Britons and the Angles, and kind of set up what our first battle will be for our next video. So first, let's go over the troop types for the post-Roman Britons. And you may notice I'm going to be using some different names for the different types of units in this army than what appears in the rulebook. And that is because I wanted to have a more late Roman feel, since most of the miniatures I'm using are late Roman figures. So I'm going to be designating all the different troop types by their late Roman designations. And so let's start with the elite unit of the Briton army. Here we have the Auxilia Palatina, and these were the elite guard troops of the late Roman Empire, usually accompanying an emperor or a magister militum or some other powerful warlord into battle. They were the best equipped and often were veterans of many campaigns. Here you see them wearing mail, scale. They usually wear cloaks and have very decorated helms. And I will be representing these on the battlefield with these lovely figures from Footsore that I painted many years ago, but still look pretty decent. And then below our elite Palatina, we have the Legio Comitatenses, which are the late Roman equivalent of the Roman legionaries of the early empire. These guys are well trained. They're also well equipped. They have chainmail and scale armor. They have an oval scutum and a hasta, and these guys would have still been professional soldiers. This would have been their daytime job, and so these guys will be kind of making up the core of my Briton army. And to represent them on the battlefield, I have some miniatures from Saxon Miniatures and Footsore. And these guys will be the cornerstone of my Briton army. And then finally, we have the Limitani, or the levy portion of my army. These guys, traditionally in the late Roman Empire, they're stationed on the frontier regions. That comes from the Roman word limes, meaning kind of a border. And so these guys were usually kind of like militia, not as well equipped. As you can see, not a lot of them have armor, and some believe were not as nearly well trained as the Comitatenses or the Palatina, since they didn't actually accompany emperors or late Roman generals into battle. And I'll have 3 units of these in the Briton army, and they'll be represented on the battlefield again with a mixture of Saxon miniatures and Footsore miniatures models. And then finally, we have the Sagittari late Roman archers, and these guys will be my skirmish force, and I believe the models that I'll be using are from Black Tree Miniatures. And now we'll just go over the nobles that will be leading my army. So here we've already talked about this guy, but we got Marcus Aurelius Gallus. He's 36. He's of normal physique. He's known as the Conqueror. I'll probably be calling him Aurelian Victor. And he's a horseman, and he's also in exile. And then under him, one of his nobles will be this guy, Flavius Magnus Maximus, named after the famed usurper that hailed from Britain in the late Roman Empire. He's going to be 29. He's going to be tall and strong. His reputation is known as the Mad. He has the constitution of an ox, and he is the son of a warlord, so he'll be my first officer. My second noble will be a guy named Bregens. If you've taken Latin in high school, you might recognize that name. And he is going to be age 22. He's going to be short and wiry. He's going to be victorious. He's going to be an athlete. He's going to be the son of a decurion. And then for my champion, we have Lucius Varenus of HBO Rome's fame, and he will be looking after my warlord in battle. So now let's talk about the army of the Saxons. They're a little simpler. They don't have as many different types of units. They don't have any levy to start out with. And they also only have 5 units of infantry compared to the Britons' 6, but they're of higher quality. So let's start off with the Saxon or the Anglo elite. And for the elites, we got the Gedrit. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but basically these are the Hearthguard of the Warlord. They are professional soldiers, the soldier class of the Angles, and they would accompany their warlord into battle as a fierce bodyguard. And here I have a bunch of different miniatures from Footsore and Gripping Beast and Saxon miniatures to represent these elite units, and the Saxon/Angles start off with 2 of these units being fielded. And then below the Gedrit, we have the Dugath. I think maybe that's how you pronounce it. These are the warriors of the Saxon army. And these guys were probably mostly part-time warriors. You know, they fought during the spring, the summer before the harvest, and they went back and farmed their lands. But they were usually experienced raiders. They often went on many campaigns, which makes up for the fact that they probably were not as well armed or armored as often their late Roman or even Briton opponents. And I'll be using quite the assortment of different models from Footsore, from Gripping Beasts, and Saxon miniatures to represent these guys on the battlefield. And then finally, we have the Briton skirmishers. I don't know what they're actually called, but they're just some simple bowmen that will be acting in support of the infantry. And so here is my Saxon warlord once again, Leonhard. He is age 29. He is tall and strong. He has a reputation as the Avenger. He is a master of arms, and he is also Woden-born. So he has some good attributes there to start off. And his first noble that will be accompanying him is Wulfric. He is age 28. He is short and wiry. He is magnanimous. He is devout, and he is Woden-born. So, you know, he's just a small but very nice guy. Gotta love Wulfric. And then for my second noble, we have Ricamir, named after the famed late Roman murderer of emperors. He was a German warlord that offed, I think, 5 or 6 emperors. This guy's going to be 36. He's going to be of average physique. He's going to be noble. He's going to be lustful. And he's going to be Woden-born. And the champion accompanying both of these guys into battle is none other than our man Isengrim here, wearing that beautiful Sutton Hoo helmet. So I went ahead and rolled to see which raid we would be playing for our first game, and I rolled raiding a border town. So for our first battle, we'll have the Saxons ambushing one of the Briton nobles as he's leading a patrol in an attempt to capture him. So that should be an interesting first engagement. Hopefully you found this introduction interesting. If you did, please hit that like button, that subscribe button, and hopefully I'll have the second video for this campaign out soon. Take care.